Good evening and welcome to Orca News.
The headlines.
The 2022 presidential debates are to be held on Saturday. Commerce Valley Terraces Village project has been completed.
Congress with President Lim's son has approved the Renewed Infrastructure Projects Act of 2022. And travel restrictions have been imposed. The 2022 presidential debate for 2022 elections will be held on Saturday, January 15 at Schottler Municipal Hall. According to the Constitution, the presidential debates always falls on the third Saturday of January. The Congress has finalized the schedule of the event. Further postponement of the debates is not expected according to House Speaker Gregory Kiesco and the Elections Committee. The presidential debate will be hosted by Orca News anchor and reporter Natalie Coles with some panel moderators in the team. The presidential debates will start at 9 in the evening on Saturday. You can watch the debate here at Orca News channel and Landova's YouTube channel.
Congress has now tallied the number of registered voters in the country for the 2022 elections. The voters' registration was done until last December 31, 2021. The Election Committee has validated 37,498 voters in the country. Schottler has the most registered voters with 14,392 total voters. Pye City with 11,855 voters. Plainsfield City with 7,092 voters. Commerce Valley Terraces Village with 1,755 voters. Sonoma City with 975 voters. Flathills Village with 492 voters. Lovehart Village with 388 voters. Frostley Village with 223 voters. Old Massa Village with 182 voters. Whitetone Village with 76 voters. And Two Door with 68 voters. The vote-rich areas for this year's elections are Schottler and Pye City. 38.4% of voters will be from Schottler, 31.6% of voters will be from Pye City. Plainsfield will have 18.9% of the total voters. Then the rest of the areas are less than 5% of the total voters. Voters are subjected to vote to their respective plebiscite in time of the elections.
The CVTV infrastructure project has been completed. More to report from George. George?
Yes, Madla. The Commerce Valley Terraces Village project has been completed last January 8. Buildings in the area have been already constructed based on the planned design of the project. Plainsfield and CVTV Mayor Nimbo Sapia thanked the national government as well as workers who had helped build the future of the village. President Lim's son on Sunday held the inaugural ceremony of the infrastructure project. In his speech, he said that he is somewhat disappointed because of the delays in the construction process of the project. The president said that he is grateful that the village has achieved something in order for the country to progress what the people sought. After the president's speech, he then roamed and inspected every part of the village. As of today, you can now visit Commerce Valley Terraces Village. Beware of heavy traffic inflow in the village due to limited roads constructed in the village. Back to you, Madla.
Thank you, George. Here's our weather for tomorrow.
Congress and President Limson have signed and approved the Renewed Infrastructure Projects Act of 2022 last Saturday. The Renewed Act recognizes the implementation of planning and designing of infrastructure projects for the year 2022. The act was designed to easily approve certain infrastructure projects as a basis for urban development in the country. The President extensively seeks urban development in the country as well as expanding the country's territorial projects specifically in Pai-Khat City. The Renewed Act may now approve the Loveheart Line Metro Transit Project, the Two-Door Industrial Park Project, the Tulkershire District Project, and others. Here's our Orca Fact for today. Did you know that orcas are widely distributed in oceans around the world? Killer whales inhabit all oceans of the world. Killer whales are the most widely distributed mammal. While killer whales can be found around the world, they are much more common in highly productive areas of cold water upwelling, including the Pacific Northwest, along northern Norway's coast in the Atlantic, and the higher latitudes of the Southern Ocean. In addition to being found in colder water, killer whales also have been seen in warm water areas such as Florida, Hawaii, Australia, the Galapagos Islands, the Bahamas, and the Gulf of Mexico, and more temperate waters such as New Zealand and South Africa. Such sightings are infrequent, but they do demonstrate the killer whale's ability to venture into tropical waters.
We have some breaking news. Congress will be deciding when to schedule absentee voting for voters who can't vote on the day of elections on February 12th. It is regarded on the Constitution that absentee voting must be done for only a duration of a week. Likewise, people who will be absent on the day of elections may need to request the ballot itself and the forms needed to validate the voting process. More updates will be followed when information is available. Landova is still once again COVID-19 free. Vaccination is still ongoing for phases 1 to 4. The total doses administered are now at 7,430. Partially vaccinated individuals are now at 5,332, and the fully vaccinated are now at 2,098. Meanwhile, closure is still indefinitely imposed in Two-Door. President Limson has imposed restricted inbound and outbound travels to and from France due to the surge of COVID-19 cases and the threat of the EU and Omicron variants. Likewise, partial travel restrictions are imposed elsewhere around the world, where valid travel purposes and fully vaccinated persons are permitted to travel in and out of Landova. Even if there are no reported cases in the country, the president ensures a total of 0 active cases in the country persisting until the pandemic reached its peak. Health measures are still being encouraged for all people to follow. The president also stated that quarantine alert levels will be raised if cases are to be reported.
And that's it for tonight's news. This is Louis Barnes.
And this is Maude Parkinson. Reporting for Orca News.
Good evening, everyone.